It's been 2 long years since we last checked out the cozy Tavern Keeper RPG Traveler's Rest, and in that time, there have been massive changes to the game from new farming features, beekeeping, some story, and even a whole city. Now, initially, I was only planning on spending a few hours just to check out what's new, but I kind of fell straight down into what is at this point a very well-crafted gameplay loop and put about 100 more hours into the game than I was expecting. So this is not just an update video anymore, this is a 100% completion review, and I'm gonna show you everything this early access game has to offer in its latest iteration. From its robust tavern management system with a wide variety of recipes to cook, staff to hire, and building expansions you can make, to a completely new farming system and brand new areas to explore, this is Traveler's Rest. Just to provide some context, when I originally covered this game back in 2023, the game didn't really have much of anything except for its tavern management mechanics. There was no story, no setup, you were literally dropped into your tavern and you just started running it, and that was the game. As you can see, it was pretty bare bones. Today, the very first thing I noticed when starting the current version of the game is how we start off right off the bat with an opening cutscene and a setup for where the story of the game will go, which was quite exciting as it felt like the game finally had some direction. Now, to summarize it, the game takes place in the kingdom of Rylea, which recently lost its king. This left the crown up for grabs, but due to how the kingdom was founded, instead of the throne passing to an heir through bloodline, the way Rylea chooses its king is by selecting from the best tavern keepers in the kingdom in honor of their founder, Rygar the Tavern Keeper King. Drunk in a local bar, you were hoodwinked by a mysterious hooded man into using all of your life savings to buy an apparently cursed tavern outside of the city gates, and then you get dropped off into your tavern. With the help of a cat spirit named Mai, you make it your goal to make the best of the situation and challenge the Fellowship of Tavern Keepers for a chance to become Rylea's next king. Now, prior to getting dropped off is when you actually create your character. It's a pretty simple character creator with some choices for hair, facial features, and clothes, but other than that, there's not really anything notable here. I would have appreciated it if there were, for example, selectable early game perks to make your character a bit unique in terms of skill set or specialties, not unlike in Chef RPG, but to be perfectly clear, that's not a knock on the game. Simple can work, and I'm completely fine with it. You then write down a name for your tavern, which I called mine the Ember's Respite, and the game puts you through a tutorial section where you play through some early game story, and that's the intro. By the end of the tutorial section, you will have repaired your tavern with the help of your cat spirit guide, and the game sets you loose in terms of how you want to be the best tavern keeper in the land. With the Ember's Respite ready for its first real customers, let me show you how the tavern management works in this game. There's a couple of features that revolve around it, like for example, cooking, brewing, foraging, farming, room renting, and more. But before you get overwhelmed, let's start from the very beginning, opening your tavern. Once you have seating set up, you can click this button at the top left side of the screen or press O on your keyboard to open the tavern. This will let your customers come in, order, and have a proper meal after a long day's work. You fulfill orders by interacting with the customers, and for drinks, you pull from the tap, then deliver them to the customer at the bar or over to their table. In addition, the more customers you have, the faster dirt will accumulate, so you'd also have to pay attention to your tavern's cleanliness, either by wiping tables or sweeping the floors. Come nighttime, the temperature will start to drop, but as long as you have some firewood and candles, your customers will remain warm and will still be able to see what they're eating. Now, sometimes you will get rowdy customers, and it's also your job as the tavern owner to keep the peace so the rest of the people won't have a terrible time. You can try to calm them down, of course, but sometimes you just gotta pull out your broom and give them a good old smack in the back. And that's pretty much the basics of it. Later on, I'll show you how room rentals work, but for now, let's focus on the next aspect of managing your tavern, specifically cooking and brewing. Cooking in this game is time-based. You basically interact with the cooking appliance and you'll be able to see all recipes you have available as well as which are the ones you can cook based on the ingredients you have. Sometimes, depending on the food item, you can even choose which specific ingredients you'll use, and depending on that ingredient's value, the price of your menu item can increase. Certain more expensive recipes will also require you to convert your base ingredients into processed versions using something like the prepping table or the grinder, like for example, turning regular meat into mincemeat for sausages or turning raw vegetables to pickled versions. As you continue to level up, you can visit Ryger's altar to unlock new recipes, and these new recipes will not only require more complicated ingredients, but sometimes entirely new kitchen appliances altogether, which adds extra depth. It might sound a little bit complicated, but once you get the hang of it, managing your kitchen and the tavern itself starts to become second nature. You'll know what you need when you need them, like an actual tavern keeping master. The process is the same for brewing as well. For example, you'd have to place grains in a malting machine, actually wait for them to ferment, then let them age in aging barrels in the cellar before selling them to your customers. And just like in real life, the longer the drinks are aged, the higher their price becomes. What I really enjoy about the cooking and tavern management loop in Traveler's Rest is how active it all is. Individually, cleaning tables, serving food, and cooking in the kitchen are all pretty simple gameplay mechanics. But combining them all together, especially with a constant stream of customers coming in, you really start to feel the intensity of what it's like to run this kind of business. And another fun thing is that it's not just the same menu items you'll be serving all the time. There's a wide variety of food to cook and drinks to brew, so you have full control of what kind of tavern you'd like yours to be. For me though, I was just happy to make as much money as possible, so I was serving everything from desserts to meat and seafood dishes to lagers, sake, and wine. Now that you know how the tavern management mechanics works and how cooking and brewing is like, let's talk about another important process in your tavern management journey: gathering your ingredients. The easiest way to do it is, of course, through foraging. Whenever you're exploring the areas outside of your tavern, sometimes there would be mushrooms you could pick up, fruit trees you can harvest, and down by the beach there are even seafood ingredients that are free to take. There's even fishing, but there's a lot there, so we'll save it for its own dedicated section later. Aside from foraging, once you start making some money through your tavern, you can even visit the new city area that was added and explore the marketplaces for meat, veggies, seafood, and various yeast which are used for baking and brewing. But by far, the most effective way to have a consistent supply of ingredients is through the game's farming system. By removing patches of grass with your shovel and tilling the land with your hoe, you can turn the area around your tavern into a small farm. Of course, you can start slowly with only a tiny patch for some basic ingredients that you often use, but for me, I got a bit paranoid about running out of certain seasonal crops, so half my land has been turned into farmland. This is a little overkill. It's a pain to manage, but I never run out of any ingredients anymore. And if you're not a fan of manually watering your crops every day, there is an irrigation system in Traveler's Rest, but the way you unlock it is through the game's crafting system, which is a whole beast on its own, so I feel like we need to talk about that first before discussing the upgrades. And since crafting is a major part of progression, let's transition over to the mid-game section, and I'll show you everything you can do with this game's crafting mechanics. But before we continue, I'd like to thank today's sponsor, GAMIVO.com. As gamers in today's economy, I know that a lot of us are struggling a little bit with the rising prices of literally everything. But thankfully, for games at least, GAMIVO has us covered. GAMIVO has a giant catalog of discounted games for all the major platforms, and most importantly, for you viewers of the channel, you'll get an exclusive 5% discount code if you take advantage through the link down below. Just click the link in the description or the comment section of this video, pick any game you want, and on the checkout page, make sure to type in code Kaganath to get 5% off of your order. You get cheaper games and you also support the channel. Very cool. In addition, if you want exclusive daily or monthly discounts and VIP access to a 24/7 live chat with their support team, go ahead and sign up for GAMIVO Smart. It comes with everything I mentioned, plus pre-order priority and a free customer protection program. All of that for only about $1 a month. They're also verified in Trustpilot, having amazing reviews so you know that your purchases are protected. So if you want to get your favorite games at discounted prices and support this channel at the same time, head on over there with the link down below and make sure not to miss out on the 5% discount with code Kaganath. Let's get back to the video. After finishing the tutorial, the game gives you various workstations which are used to craft a wide variety of useful items. The way this works is that you'll put your workstation down in a cleared area, and everything inside this square will be designated as the crafting area for that specific workshop. There's 3 of them that you're gonna have to place. There's the smelter, the sawmill, and the stone workstation. In the beginning of the game, there's not really a lot to craft. You get access to a small number of basic recipes, but to really unlock the good stuff, you're gonna need to purchase advanced recipes from the various vendors in the city. The irrigation system, which I mentioned earlier for example, is sold by Petra from the smithy for 2 gold and 50 silver. You would then have to mine iron ores, smelt them into iron bars, turn those iron bars into iron sheets, and also craft some hinges and wooden poles. Combining them all together in the workbench will produce one basic irrigation, which can then be filled with water for semi-automated farming. And this pattern of crafting is a pretty constant form of progression in Traveler's Rest. If you want to expand your tavern seating capacity, for example, you're going to be chopping wood to turn them into tables and benches. If you want to be able to age more drinks at the same time, you gotta buy the recipe for an aging barrel, mine some coal, and use those in combination with your planks and nails to mass produce them. One thing that I'd like to mention is if you're not a fan of crafting in this game, or you find it too complicated or stressful to maintain in your daily routine, you can actually just buy most things that you need in the shops. It'll cost more and will eat up your gold, especially very early on, but that option is there for those who prefer to just focus on tavern keeping. If you enjoy crafting though like I did, this is going to be a major part of the game for you, and will allow you to make not just items for improving your workflow like extra kegs so you can serve more drinks, but also decorations which are directly tied to your reputation. Speaking of reputation, this is your main form of progression in Traveler's Rest. It basically acts as your tavern's level, and increasing it will let you unlock new features that help in scaling the business. The way reputation is earned is by providing good quality service to your customers. This means fast serving time, keeping the tavern's cleanliness, and making sure that there's candles lit up and the temperature is warm in the evenings. Providing a wide variety of food and drink options also increases the amount of reputation gain per customer, but by far the best way to increase reputation gain is by increasing your tavern's comfort level. By either buying or crafting decor items and placing them inside your dining area, your tavern's comfort level will increase and each customer will reward you with higher reputation gains. So not only will decorations make your tavern look good, but making sure you have a nice looking place is also very important in progressing the game. Some features that you can unlock by leveling reputation are things like the order feature, which gives you access to the notice board where people can put in delivery orders, granting you huge reputation and gold. You can also unlock new kitchen stuff like the distillery, cheesery, and cocktail tables for new recipes. The trends feature, which lets you view which ingredients and food items are currently popular in the kingdom, as well as being able to be visited by VIP guests and more. Now, in the beginning, it's pretty easy to maintain a constant reputation gain. But once you expand your tavern and you're dealing with 2 times, 3 times, up to 5 times more customers than what you started with, everything starts to become difficult to handle. And if you're not able to keep up, your reputation can go down. So this is where staff hiring comes in. Upon reaching reputation level 6, you'll get access to the recruitment section of the notice board. You'll be able to hire up to 4 people to help you out in your tavern, each with their specific jobs, starting levels, and positive and negative perks. You'll want to outsource your process slowly, maybe hiring a barkeep or a waiter to start with, so wages don't take up too much of your profit. But later on, you can get to a point where your tavern can pretty much run on autopilot, which is pretty insane in terms of money making. There's also a leveling system for the staff where you'll be able to level their positive perks, but of course, that increases their per hour rate, so you want to keep a nice balance depending on how fast your tavern is expanding. Staff progression in this game is all about keeping a good balance between your profit and wage expenses, as well as constantly rotating out beginner level staff for new ones with better skills and more manageable negative perks. Once you find the perfect staff to fit a certain position, you can pretty much keep them there as they will level up with you, increasing the effect of their bonuses, which can range from basic stuff like lower wages and higher price of food items, to increasing staff-wide movement speed for a more efficient tavern service. Another form of progression is the skill tree. Kind of like perks for your staff, you also get your own skills. You'll have access to 5 different branches, with only 3 being available at the current version of the game. There's the management skill tree, the crafting skill tree, and the resources skill tree. Take note that you won't be able to fully unlock everything, so pay attention early on as to what type of tavern keeper you want to be. Do you want to focus on making the most money through your tavern service? Or maybe you'd prefer focusing on the agriculture and farming aspect of the game. In future updates, skill trees such as the social and magic systems will be added, but I'll include the info we have on those for the future update section of this video. Lastly, for the mid-game section, there's the construction feature, which in extension to it also unlocks room rentals and animal husbandry. This is the time in the game where things really start to ramp up, and it's also one of the things I spent most of my time on. Upon reaching reputation level 7, you'll be able to buy the construction table from Woody. And by loading it up with construction materials made from crafting, such as planks, nails, mortars, and stone, you'll be able to expand your tavern in almost whatever way you want. You can add dedicated rooms, completely change the layout, and you get the point. You'll also finally be able to make use of the second floor. By enclosing a room here and adding a guest door, that room will be classified as a rental room, providing you with additional passive income. In addition, whenever your tavern is operational, these guests will order room service, and their rooms need to be cleaned every morning to maintain reputation. Thankfully, we have a housekeeper to handle all of this, and they'll also sit on the reception desk to accommodate any who'd like to rent. If you'd like to do this yourself though, you can, and you'll even be able to haggle prices to get some extra gold. Having more floor space and higher comfort levels for each of the rooms will make these rentals more expensive, and even just adding one room is a whole project on its own, so this is one of those long-term goals you'll have to set for yourself at this stage of the game. Speaking of goals, in addition to your tavern expansion, you can also head south where you'll find Buzz and his family. You can buy animal products here, but what we're really here for is the construction service that Buzz offers, which will let you construct up to 2 chicken coops and a barn on your land. You'll then purchase animals and raise them so you can harvest their eggs, milks, and if you're heartless enough, even meat for a consistent source of animal-based ingredients. This also takes quite a while to do and is one of those long-term projects in the game, so take your time and just enjoy the day-to-day routine of slowly accumulating gold, construction materials for upgrades, tending to your farm, and taking care of your animals. And this is the true meat of Traveler's Rest. It starts off as a pretty basic tavern management simulator, but as features get unlocked and the gameplay starts to click, it turns into this very cozy, routine-based game where you go through the day by day, slowly making tiny progress towards whatever goal you've set for yourself. Maybe you want to renovate the whole place and create a tavern that's truly personal. Maybe you want a different theme for each of the rental rooms. Maybe you want to start beekeeping or make a cool garden for your animals to graze around in. It's completely up to you. And finally, the last feature, which I really should have mentioned from the very beginning, but just couldn't find the right opportunity to do so, is that everything we've talked about here so far can be done with friends on both local and online co-op, which is pretty insane for an early access title. Even Stardew Valley didn't launch with online features, and Chef RPG, which is the other one I'm most looking forward to, hasn't even announced anything related to co-op. Your friends get their own personal rooms to decorate, and you can even do everything that can be done in single player with up to 3 more people. And the best thing is that each person keeps their progress, so helping other people out in their tavern will also progress your own personal game. So now, let's talk about what the current endgame is in Traveler's Rest. First of all, just to remind everyone, since this is still in early access, there's a lot of things missing that will eventually fill this part of the game up. Now, because the game is incomplete, what I'm seeing a lot of people do, specifically in the Traveler's Rest subreddit, is a lot of decorating. If that's an aspect of Traveler's Rest that you end up enjoying, you're gonna be in for a good time, because with the abundance of resources you'll get at this stage, you'll be free to unleash your creativity, unlike in earlier parts of the game where even a tiny expansion can cost you a week's worth of earnings. And at this point, there's a lot of decoration pieces that have been added and will be added to the game in future updates. I've seen so many people go absolutely crazy with this, but I'm not creative nor talented enough to do so this is just kind of what I ended up with. Aside from that, there's the fishing, which you'll start doing as soon as you unlock it from Hikari. But if it's your favorite thing to do, you can work on collecting all fishes in the game, which are separated by saltwater and freshwater categories, as well as a differing pool of availability depending on the season. As for the junk, which you're gonna end up getting a lot of whether by regular fishing or through your fish traps, you can turn these in to the junk pile over by the beach and you'll be rewarded with Wilson seals. These can be exchanged with Wilson for some really unique sea-themed decorations with very high comfort level stats. Additionally, there's pets as well, which are separate from the animal husbandry. You'll get the cat pretty early on in the game, but if you keep visiting the pet shop in the city, eventually you'll experience one of the few quests that are already implemented, which in the end rewards you with a very cute pet dog who has the ability to find you extra dig spots. And if you end up stumbling upon the hidden merchant Crowley, you can even raise a parrot egg who has a feature of yapping to customers, and depending on how well you've trained them, can give you extra passive reputation gain. Be careful though, as not training the parrot can result in some nasty reputation losses despite the funny dialogue. Even though the game is still in early access, I feel like Traveler's Rest is in a way better state compared to when I first covered it a couple of years ago. It's still missing a lot of the features that I was hoping for, like many of the key locations and of course the main storyline, but they've definitely nailed what would be the core loop of the game, and for me that's really the most important thing. If the actual tavern management of the Tavern Management Simulator can hold people for tens up to 100 hours in my case, which to be fair I did go for 100% completion, but even for those who don't, this is still a solid 30 to 50 hours if you want to play it for the Tavern Sim. Now, if that's not what all you're here for and you're looking for the social aspect like building relationships with characters, the story, the combat, and the exploration, unfortunately, those are still in the works. As a matter of fact, let's take a look at what's upcoming for the future of this game. The most recent major updates for Traveler's Rest included the city and story updates, beekeeping and irrigation, online multiplayer, and the pet party update. All are features that I think are quite crucial for the core gameplay. But looking at the Trello board roadmap that the developer has publicly available, the updates that are coming in include an expansion to the city area, including most likely the NPCs associated with it, as well as, finally, access to the mine, which I've long waited for, as we'll finally be able to free this miner who's been stuck in ice since our first coverage of the game. So slowly but surely, exploration will be a thing in Traveler's Rest sometime soon. And also, based on the most recent major update Steam post, it seems that we're also getting additions to the story as well as our first culinary duel against a Master and Tavern Keeper, which I assume is the first of many battles against the Fellowship that was set up in the prologue of the game. How this will look like is something we don't really have a lot of information on yet, but if it's anything close to something like Food Wars, then I am nothing but excited for whatever the devs are cooking. Other updates that don't really have dates set yet are, of course, more NPCs, new locations such as thermal baths, a goblin camp, a new pirate cave area, which is most likely this black boulder, as well as a lighthouse with the super cool art already posted. An additional dining room, which we only have one of currently, will also be added, which I think is going to be a great addition. The community has shown how creative they can be with the limited features that we have, but imagine giving them more freedom, such as being able to add a second floor dining area and see what amazing tavern layouts they come up with. There's also a new insect collection feature, which is probably gonna look similar to fishing. And then of course, the things we already know are coming, social features, magic and combat system, and then a revamp to the VIP system, which admittedly is pretty basic right now. Now, would I recommend Traveler's Rest to somebody who's looking to play something similar to other more popular cozy games in the genre? Well, yes and no. Despite my praise for the game's feature, of which there are a lot, there are also many things that are missing to really make this a satisfying experience. If you're looking for a chill game where you can do quick sessions of just running a tavern, decorating, and getting absorbed in the day-to-day routine of managing a virtual pixel business, then by all means, hop in and have fun. But beyond that, Traveler's Rest isn't really ready yet. The story is very short and currently only serves as an intro. The city, which is beautiful by the way, is pretty much a diorama where you'd occasionally go and buy things. Because there's not much to do there, it looks alive but feels very much like a work in progress. Compared to its competition like Chef RPG, which I recently covered, that game already has 3 full story acts, a bunch of complete character quests, and it's basically a small sample of the complete game. Traveler's Rest currently feels like a demo of its core loop and not much else. However, again, I am very optimistic for the future of the game. With how Traveler's Rest is coming together, it's looking to be one of the most addictive games in the genre, and depending on how they execute the Tavern Keeper battle that the developer mentioned in the blog post, that might just be what brings this game over from play it if you only like this feature to this is 100% worth trying out today. If you'd like to support the content, please feel free to join either the Patreon or the YouTube membership, both of which include access to monthly exclusive content, your name at the end screen of every video, as well as early access to the videos I make. And of course, a good to subscribe also works just as well. Alright, I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye!